Today, we're diving into something fascinating and a little bit scary. We're going to talk about the invisible strings that can pull at our thoughts and decisions, the unseen battle for your mind, and most importantly, how you can be the one in control.
So, let me ask you a question right off the bat. Is your mind truly your own? I mean, we all like to think we're in the driver's seat, right? That every choice we make is a product of our own free will. But what if that feeling of control isn't as solid as we think? What if our mental gears turn in ways that are actually pretty predictable?
And this quote right here, this is the key. It gets to the heart of it. For all its amazing complexity, the human mind tends to follow certain patterns. The emotions we feel, the decisions we make, they often follow predictable scripts. And the thing is, once you understand those scripts, you can start to see how easily they can be influenced.
Which, of course, brings us to the architects of influence. See, there are people out there who don't just notice these patterns, they study them. They learn them inside and out with a very specific goal, to use them to their advantage. They know how the human mind works, but they're not always using that knowledge for good.
This is where you hear the term dark psychology thrown around. Now, this isn't some kind of secret magic. It's really just a name for what happens when the basic principles of psychological influence get weaponized. It's like taking the playbook of the most manipulative people in society and reverse engineering their tactics to control others.
So, what's the motivation behind all this? Well, this slide breaks it down perfectly. We often see these architects fit into what psychologists call the dark triad. First, you've got narcissism, which is all driven by a bottomless pit of a need for admiration. Then there's Machiavellianism. This is your cold, calculating strategist who sees other people as just pieces on a chessboard. And finally, you have psychopathy, which is often considered the most dangerous because of the total lack of empathy. They all want different things, but their methods can be chillingly similar.
All right, so what are the actual tools these architects are using? Let's open up the toolkit and take a look at some of the most common and frankly most destructive tactics out there.
First up, a big one, gaslighting. This is a primary weapon, and its entire purpose is to make you doubt your own reality. The manipulator will flat out deny saying or doing something, even when you have proof. You can see how this feeds a narcissist's need to be perfect, right? Instead of admitting they're wrong, they'll just convince you that your memory is the problem. It's a slow burn, but it can literally make you feel like you're losing your mind.
And this quote, wow, it just hits the nail on the head. This is the end goal of gaslighting. It's not just about confusing you, it's about paralyzing you. Because when you can no longer trust your own perception, how can you possibly make a decision, or stand up for yourself, or even trust yourself enough to leave? Okay, next tool, and you'll see how these things build on each other. It's called intermittent reinforcement, and it is one of the most powerful psychological hooks that exists. Honestly, the best way to think about it is a slot machine. You pull that lever over and over, losing most of the time. But that random, unpredictable win, that's what keeps you glued to the machine. In a relationship, it's the same thing. Unpredictable moments of affection in a sea of negativity create a powerful addiction to chasing that rare win.
And this slide shows you exactly how the trap is set. It starts with the manipulator creating a negative vibe, criticism, silent treatment, you name it. That makes you try harder and harder to get their approval. And then, just when you're about to give up, boom, you get a reward, a moment of kindness. And just like that, you're hooked again, willing to endure so much more bad behavior just for the chance at another taste of that good feeling.
All right, that was pretty heavy, I know. But here is the good news, and it's the most important part of this whole conversation. Knowledge is your defense. Now that we've seen the tools in the manipulator's kit, let's talk about how to build your own mental shield so that none of this stuff can touch you.
The absolute foundation of your mental shield is emotional intelligence. And this isn't just some corporate buzzword. It's a real practical skill set. It's built on 4 pillars. Self-awareness, which is just knowing what you're feeling and why. Self-regulation, which is managing those feelings instead of letting them control you. Social awareness, so you can read a room and understand others. And finally, relationship management, which is all about building healthy connections. These are your superpowers against manipulation, for real.
Now here's a really powerful technique that comes from something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. CBT is all about spotting and fixing distorted thinking patterns that make us vulnerable. Take personalization. That's when you blame yourself for things you have zero control over. Manipulators absolutely love this because it makes it so easy to shift blame onto you. The CBT fix? You challenge that thought. You reframe it by asking yourself, okay, honestly, what part of this did I truly control? That one simple question can change everything.
And for those moments when you feel completely overwhelmed, whether it's stress, anxiety, or you're in a manipulative situation, here is an amazing CBT tool you can use right now. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. You just pause and anchor yourself in the present moment using your senses. Acknowledge 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. It yanks you out of that spiral of thoughts and gives you the headspace to think clearly.
So, what's the big picture here? What's the main takeaway? Understanding all this stuff isn't about making you paranoid. Not at all. It's about changing your role. It's about going from being a pawn on the board, moved around by forces you can't see, to becoming a player who actually understands the game and can make your own moves.
Now, we've got to be really clear about something. Not all influence is bad. Of course not. Ethical persuasion is honest. It respects your free will. It can be a total win-win. But unethical manipulation, that's a whole different story. It always has a hidden, self-serving agenda. Its goal is to control you, not convince you. And it only ever benefits the manipulator, usually at your expense. Knowing where that line is, that's the whole game.
So really, this knowledge is all about agency. It's power. It helps you spot the difference between healthy influence and harmful control, both in how others treat you and, frankly, in how you treat others. So the question was never, does influence exist? Of course it does. The real question is, now that you know the rules of the game, how will you choose to play?